Hello, and welcome to another edition of our Town Administrator Update, our opportunity to talk with Town Administrator Paul Sagarino about the latest things happening in Burlington. Paul, thanks for taking some time and joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Rich. Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, happy 4th to you as well. Would have been nice if the weather was a little better, but...
Absolutely. Yeah, sun makes everything better.
Exactly. Yeah, so I know it's summer, but that doesn't mean things slow down in your office. I know a big headache recently has been water.
Yep.
So we had two different things happen. One, we had a positive E. coli test at 3 different sites, and then it was sort of quickly cleared. So what's sort of the thinking about what happened?
We're having an independent investigation, Rich, but we consider the pattern of the E. coli test to be highly unusual. It's highly unusual to have one bad E. coli test, let alone 3 within the same community, and where they were located within town were from relatively two separate areas of town, which would indicate extremely unusual, perhaps man-made infiltration of the system for it to happen in such a way. So we're going to have some independent experts look at it, give us a full understanding of the situation, and we're fairly confident that we did not have E. coli, and we're hopeful that the independent exam will bear that out.
Yeah, so it is looking like it's possibly like a lab issue or something along
yes,
those, or somewhere in the chain.
It happens from time to time. I mean, it's been probably over 12 years since we even heard of E. coli here in Burlington. So, and I do understand how disruptive it is to our residents and to our businesses when you have that boil water notice. But we take the standards very seriously, and we're able to notify the community well in advance of our our requirements to do so. And we're really pleased that it was resolved so quickly, but again, it doesn't make it any easier. It's very disruptive on residents and on businesses alike, so we're not really happy about that aspect of it.
No, of course. It did actually highlight something that, I mean, maybe a silver lining is the importance of people signing up for the town's Code Red system.
Yes, that was a pretty frequent complaint, almost as much as the E. coli itself was. Some residents did not receive a phone call. So we did some looking into that, and Code Red is a sign-up service. You can sign up on the town's website. So if you haven't signed up and you didn't get a call, that would be a reason why. But also technology also has an impact too. Many of our phones block spam calls, and sometimes a Code Red call will look like a spam call. So it's important for a resident to whitelist those numbers. And again, we'll use it as an opportunity to try to educate the community. I know I mentioned to Chief Patterson that perhaps we could get a BCAT segment on it just to sort of talk about it a little bit. And hopefully we'll encourage more residents to sign up. We'll get more residents to sort of understand why they may not be getting calls. And hopefully we'll have better results the next time that we need to use the Code Red. I think that based on a discussion with the vendor, our results for reaching people were fairly consistent with what other communities do in terms of percentage of calls reached, but there are a lot of reasons why a resident wouldn't get a call or wouldn't notice a call coming in.
Right. And you mentioned, and we've done 2 different segments. So we have a news video which outlines how to sign up for it, and we also did a Government 101 with Amy Warfield, our town clerk, about how to get information from the town. So people can find those on our website and
great,
get themselves
appreciate that.
All lined up. The other thing, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the full term, but they're called PFAS for short. There are certain chemicals that are in the groundwater and in the reservoir that are from like old industrial, manufacturing. Just talk a little bit about how the town is going about addressing that issue.
Well, PFAS has always been in our water for many, many years. It's only recently become a compound that the government has decided to regulate. We're all in favor of making the water cleaner, obviously, but it is somewhat of a shock when you get hit all of a sudden, and you're looking at millions of dollars in upgrades to our water treatment capabilities. So I think that would be the one thing that I would want residents to know, that the PFAS, for better for worse, has been in the water for a long period of time. It's in a lot of the water in the country. And
Yeah.
you'll see if you just Google Massachusetts that almost every community that makes its own water has some sort of impact from PFAS. The good news is that we do have a plan to address it. We're having a solution designed for the Mill Pond plant, and we're hopeful to bring that to town meeting in September to request whatever funding is necessary for that. And it involves retrofitting the plant with some carbon type filter to pull it out of the water. And I think we're ahead of the curve in terms of having a plan to address it. And again, it's not something that anyone wants to hear, that we have any compounds in the water. I think everyone that's been in Burlington a long time knows that our water in this area is not pristine. We did have a manufacturing sort of industrial past.
Right.
And again, back from a time period where people weren't as concerned about the environment, and a lot of this stuff, went into the ground and went into the water supplies. So I feel confident that we'll be able to address this in relatively short order.
Excellent. And then also the connection to the MWRA is going to help.
Yeah, because of the water source being the Quabbin Reservoir, they do not have PFAS in MWRA water. So that's a 2-year project for us. I think that we may be talking about that next in terms of some projects. But once we start having more MWRA water in the system, that eliminates it as well. And again, we're working on a solution for the Mill Pond treatment plant as well. So eventually the whole town will have PFAS-free water. And again, the issue is what's the next contaminant that the government looks to regulate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the big takeaway is it's not a new contamination. It is just a new standard that the state has.
Yeah, and some of the emails we got, I think that was some folks' understanding is if the PFAS went into the water fairly recently, and it's been in the water all along, unfortunately. So.
Right. Yeah, so you mentioned summer projects. I know the MWRA project is continuing. I know the rec and DPW maintenance building is either complete or very close to being complete.
Yep.
What else do we have going on that we can look forward to this summer?
Well, those are the two big ones. And then, as you know, DPW facility is a 2-phase. So once they finish up that building, which we're expecting to have some type of occupancy certificate in July, and hopefully some sort of ribbon cutting coming up shortly. Then they'll move down the street to the other site. You may have noticed if you've gone by there, it's sort of been cleaned out and gutted. The original DPW highway barn behind Coles. So we'll be ready to move the crew down the street and get to work on that aspect of the project next. And as you mentioned, we're very close to being able to start getting in the ground on the MWRA water pipe, which will run from Adams Street here in Burlington through Lexington to the Arlington line. So we have all those approvals in place, and we're just getting ready to get started.
All
so,
right.
As you know, it's been a many years project to join the MWRA. It's not just a sign-up system. It's a huge regulatory and many hundreds of public hearings that we've gone through to be allowed into the system. And we were told, at the time that we were one of the communities that made it through the gauntlet the quickest that any of the MWRA or the water resource folks at the state had recalled. So although it may seem like forever, and it seems like forever to us, it was actually relatively quick for an MWRA admission.
Yeah. Oh, I remember having a whole hour-long specials with John Petrin about it before he retired.
Well, it's coming sooner than we, 2 years. Hopefully, we'll be complete with the pipe, and we will have a very solid supply of water coming to the town.
Excellent. And I guess the last thing I just want to talk about is, we had a change of leadership over at the police department. You want to talk about, the newly appointed Chief Thomas Browne, and then maybe a couple words about Chief Michael Kent?
Sure. Tom Browne is a consummate professional. I mean, he would be hired as a police chief in any town around here. He's been working alongside Chief Kent for several years now as a deputy. If you see his resume, he's had held a multitude of positions within our own police department. Started his career in New Hampshire. But he has tremendous leadership. He's an attorney. Yeah. He's a bright guy, extremely bright guy, and he's been great to work with for the past several years as a deputy. And, we're really lucky that we have had a succession plan in the police department by instituting that deputy position. When I talk to managers in other communities, one of their big concerns is that they don't have anybody in their police department that they feel is ready to lead the department. And it was very comforting for me as a town administrator to know that we had Tom waiting in the wings for when Chief Kent decided to wrap it up. So I'm really happy for Tom, and I think that the town's going to be in great shape in terms of police department leadership for the next 10 or 15 years, depending upon how long Tom wishes to be around. So
right. And last thing, just 11 years with Chief Kent. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how he really sort of transformed that department.
He did, Rich. And at that time that the chief came to town, we had exceptional officers, but we just really didn't work as a team. And he really brought that teamwork focus to the department. He really had a strong emphasis on training. Getting all sorts of officers at all different levels of the department exposed to, nationwide, new breaking ideas that are out there
right.
within policing, and many of those ideas were brought back to the department. And I can honestly say, during the unrest in the country about police reform that we've experienced over the past couple of years, many of the suggestions as to how to improve police departments, we had already instituted 5 years ago, so, we're really ahead of the curve on these matters, and I think, that's a credit to Chief Kent and his leadership that he brought to the department.
Excellent. All right. Well, lots going on as usual in Burlington. Thank you for taking some time and coming down and, sharing what you know.
No, it's my pleasure, Rich, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'll see you next month.
Thank you.